Hey folks, welcome back to DCS. So today we're going to be flying the Phantom and looking at dogfighting a variety of Cold War aircraft. So the first one is the MiG-21 Fishbed, which is obviously the Phantom's historic counterpart. This fight is quite interesting because it's kind of like a yin and a yang sort of situation. The Phantom is more of a sustained turn kind of fighter, like it uses the 2 circle. And the MiG-21 is more of an instantaneous turn fighter that uses the 1 circle, and other than that the performance metrics are actually quite close. They both accelerate very well, they both climb very well, but the Fishbed loses more speed through the turn, regardless of how well he manages it. So I start climbing here in the hope that I would be able to dive back down on his 6 to cover less distance across the ground in order to stay behind him. But he counters it by climbing with me, and actually I end up in front of him, so immediately I know that this is quite a dangerous Fishbed pilot. But because I've flown the Fishbed too, I know that he's not going to get a Fox 2 shot if I double dip and climb again, because he can't uncage his missile seekers. The bore sight is very, very small, and the stability that thing has at low speed isn't great because its wings are quite stubby. So we roll over and we come back down on top of him. He dived away early for energy, which is another sign of a good pilot. I actually lost visual here, but he flared and that helped me regain it, and I managed to get a 9P off, or a P3 off even. Unfortunately it doesn't track for whatever reason, but he's turning hard to avoid that missile, so I'm keeping him busy, which is good because I came in way too fast and I didn't manage to get behind him again, so I didn't really do a very good job there. But because of the way it's just naturally panned out, I now have him energy trapped, and I can just basically come back down on top of him, try for a shot, and if I miss I can just climb back up again. And this guy has to keep manoeuvring to avoid me killing him, and the more he does that the slower he gets. So I get a good opportunity for the gun here, but he jinks out the way, and here I turn flat, which was a little bit silly, but I'm still maintaining energy even as I do that. And here he ends up behind me again, so I just play the energy card. We go up. He does get guns briefly there, but they miss. We just keep going up. He's losing the speed. He can't follow me up. Popping a few flares for safety. Keeping eyes on him, and he's losing speed. He's stalling out. What I want to do here is extend enough that he's not within my turn circle when I come back down, because that'll allow me to get nose back on. I can see an opportunity coming up, so that beeping is me really yanking the stick, pulling past the AOA limit of the aircraft just to get the nose around faster. He turned the wrong way and he gave me a Fox 2 shot, but I fumbled the uncage so it didn't track, and then I completely bodged this gunshot, but we just go back up again. And this is how you fight the Fishbed in the Phantom. Now, throughout all this, I've still got my Sparrows on, which weigh about a ton, so if I jettison them, this fight might have been over a little bit faster. And I'm just burning the fuel up. You see he's extending in a straight line here to get his energy back, and then as he sees me get nose on is when he turns, because that's how he denies me an opportunity to kill him. Another sign of a good pilot. Bodge the gunshot again, but I just go back up. Every time I go back up, I'm maintaining my advantage over him, but I'm having to go through so much fuel to do it that I'm just basically putting myself at risk, and I'm not going to have the fuel to get home again or finish this fight if anyone else turns up. And he's kept me occupied for so long that that's exactly what's happened, and you'll see a Fox 2 coming in from the distance anytime now. We only just managed to avoid it. On the EWR reports, there are now 3 of them within a mile, one of them 7 miles away, and another coming in from 11 miles away. And I am just boned. It took me so long to handle this one guy that I just can't do anything. I can't do more. I'm going to run out of fuel. We're going to lose the plane. So if you watched my last video and I said that my biggest struggle early days was with fuel management and the afterburner, that's exactly what happens here. This fight took more than 4 minutes. I was in afterburner for maybe 80% of it, and the fuel's just run out. So you got to wrap those fights up a little bit quicker, get rid of the Sparrows if you don't need them, and hopefully it'll pan out better next time. Last time I started offensively. This time we're at a pretty even merge, so I go up as we turn around, and I'm climbing very aggressively. It hasn't really followed me up so much. The Phantom really does well if you maintain an altitude advantage, because it's quite heavy, so it dives really well. You pick up an insane amount of speed in the dive. There's that solid turn I was talking about, so I'm pulling too hard right now because I'm trying to secure a shot which I'm never going to get, which is stupid. So I ease off, and instead of climbing hard I just gradually pull it around without the beeps. And although I'm losing speed because I'm climbing, I'm not losing more than I need to until now on the rollover. So as we try and get the nose back down, if we get a few beeps here, it doesn't matter because I'm diving back down, I can get my energy back straight away. He is coming back up again, however, so I'm going to not really pull that hard through this dive. You see, I'm very lazily bringing my nose around. I'm checking my speed, we're just passing above 350 knots. And at this point, I think I'll go for a deck transition, because I know that I can rate better than a Fishbed, because I've got the wing area and I've got the thrust. If he tries to follow me in a rate, he can't really rate that well, and what ends up happening is that he gets third party before I can actually get around the back of him. Moving on to fighting MiG-19s. So this is the longest clip of the video, and this is the only good fight I've had against a farmer. So we start off by interrupting a fight with a friendly, and that Sparrow actually went for my friendly and it team killed the Phantom. So I felt that their separation was significant enough that that wasn't a risk, but clearly the Phantom must have been in the side lobe. Didn't have the gun armed there, otherwise I probably would have killed him. Pretty miffed about that. But the Farmer is famously a rate fighter. It's basically the F-16 of the Cold War server. It can pull really hard and it can maintain speed because it's quite a lightweight airframe and it has a stupid amount of thrust. Now the Phantom is similar in that it has a stupid amount of thrust, but it's also a bus. It's not very aerodynamic and it's insanely heavy. So the Phantom the Farmer rather wins in terms of like thrust to weight. So I'm trying to rate him here, as you'll see, and I'm purposely not pulling enough to get the beeps. And then I think to myself, well, maybe I can climb through the rate, and maybe that'll work out better for me because the Phantom's climb rate might be better than the Farmer's. But you can see that he kind of takes the piss with me there, and he's like, haha, look how well I can do it, and it bites me in the arse. So instead of continuing upwards, I kind of dip my nose a bit for speed, and then I pull into him because I know that the Farmer has really crappy nose authority. So as he's getting his speed up through this dive, my hope is that he will lack the nose authority to get guns on. And because I actually pull harder than he does, it might be prudent to try one circle fighting him instead of two circle. But I don't want to start it when I'm slow, so we're going to get low and we're going to get fast.
He's right behind us. He's right behind
I don't really want to run in a straight line though, because my visibility to the rear is super terrible. So I'm pulling as I'm turning just so I can still see him, because my worry here is that he'll fox 2 me. He hasn't fired one yet, and I think he could have, so I decided to just run straight. Now the Farmer has a really crap top speed on the deck because its wings are super fat, and it will struggle to exceed about 500 knots in a straight line. It'll take a long time for it to push beyond that. So what I'm doing here is using my thrust and my top speed on the deck to create some separation. So if you look at the EWR reports in the top right, he's 0.6 miles away right now. That's too close. He could actually potentially gun me from that range. So I want to get it to like maybe 1.5. And I'm also going to start pulling him intentionally towards friendly lines because, as we know from the Fishbed clip earlier, I am drinking fuel like a fucking crazy person right now. So I'm climbing a bit, we've opened some separation, he's a mile away from me now. And once I know I'm faster than him, I can climb more efficiently than he can, because he will lose the speed in the climb. I will too, but I'll climb faster because I'm faster, so it helps to create some separation. My plan here is that once he's quick, I can turn better than he can because he compresses, and I don't. So I'm going to use that to reverse him, and I managed to get him to overshoot, I managed to get him in front, but then I fucked the gunshot. And this, what I'm doing right now, get the farmer fast so it can't pull hard. You pull hard in a snake-like fashion until he overshoots. That will give you some gunshot opportunities and maybe push him out in front if he's not very good. But this guy ditches immediately back into his rate, and right now we're on the 60s weapon set, which means that I only have AIM-9Bs. I can't hope to fire a missile that will track through a rate fight, it's just not going to happen. So here, I'm going to try and reset and do the exact same thing again. Initially I think, well, maybe I'll give one circle a go for a bit, so I'm trying to force him to turn into my nose instead of like rating around with him. Probably shouldn't have done it vertically at low speed though, because he actually gets nose on me first, which doesn't work out very well, so we narrowly avoid his guns there. At this point, I just dive, separate, I try and do the same thing again, and the same thing happens, I bodge the gunshots, and ultimately I end up dragging him back to a friendly airfield without him realising, and he gets killed by the SAMs, which I still feel really crap about because I hate it when people do that to me. But at least for how good I am in the Phantom right now, it's the only strategy I've got, honestly. I think if I hadn't bodged the gunshots when he crossed the nose, that would have been my best opportunity. And I'm sure with practice, I'd get better at doing that, because like how much you pull and how much speed you're carrying and how you read into the speed without having to check the speedo constantly. Because at the minute, I can't feel how fast I'm going because I'm not familiar enough with the aircraft. Once you know it, then even from how the stick responds and how quick you turn and that kind of thing, you'll know how fast you are without needing to look to within like maybe 50 to 100 knots. But I'm just not there yet with the Phantom, so I'm having to rely a little bit too much on the beeps from the AOA gauge and things like that. So on that situation there, I dipped behind a ridge and then flick rolled the other way in the hope that he'd think I'd turned against me to give his 6 to me, but it didn't work. He must have seen me do it, so we just ended up getting into another rate fight, and I just disengaged, and that's why we're running back to the base. So we will skip to the F1 clips. So before the Phantom dropped, I predicted that the F1 would be the thing that most closely matches it in terms of performance, and I flew it quite a bit in preparation for the Phantom dropping to kind of get used to the fighting style that you'd need to utilise, and I feel like since the Phantom's dropped, I feel fairly confident that I was correct in that assessment. So we started off defensive with the Mirage on R6, we were in a climb, so we're going to initially dive just to try and pick the speed up and get away from him. I think I'm going to pick up more speed than he will through the dive just because we weigh more and we have more thrust. And we go into a deck transition. So this is day 2, day 3 after the Phantom drops, and I'm kind of a noob still. I'm definitely pulling far too hard here, as you can tell from the beeps, and I end up rating this guy about 350 knots, but you'll see he's at the top of the screen on the horizon line right now. I'm going to hold him there for most of this so you can keep looking back up there to find him. The Phantom's actual race speed is about 450 knots, so we're way slower than we should be. I think if I were faster, then the Phantom probably would rate much better than the F1, but I can't speak for the proficiency of the F1 pilot in this particular engagement, so he might be managing his energy just as badly as I am, which is why it's kind of evening out. So assuming he's better in that than I am in this, because he'll have probably flown that for longer,
you're only doing 350.
it will probably even out about the same, if not giving the very tiny edge to the Phantom. But one thing I didn't learn yet was that if you pull too hard, then there's like some adverse yaw in the Phantom, and that ends up making me crash like a noob. Moving on to the next clip. We start off with an altitude advantage, but this F1 is aware of us and he is turning into us. So as he comes up towards me, I'm going to dive, because as I dive I'll pick up speed, which means that I can afford to convert that speed into turn rate. And this is looking quite good at the minute, so I start pulling harder on purpose in the hope that I'll get the nose around. You can hear from the beeping, but I'm slightly overdoing it. But he seems to have bled off an awful amount of speed there. I'm preempting the fact that he's going to pick the speed up and extend away from me by diving kind of early to cut his turn off. I should probably have tried to enter more of a 2-circle thing here and like aimed more for his 6. And I realised my mistake, so I dive for speed and then start to do that, because he's been diving a lot more gradually. He has the altitude advantage right now, but he's a bit slower, and for whatever reason he just pancakes it. So again, not had many good opportunities to actually fight F1s. So here we end up defensive again. There's one behind me. Jester alerts me to him again. He's got shots on. This is a much more recent clip, so I'm kind of more in tune with the Phantom at this point. I know he's faster than me because he was coming up quite quick, so we reverse him and we do get shots on there. Going for a second crossover there, but I just can't really see him. Like, biggest complaint when it's not very good lighting is that the Phantom's HUD glass is tinted, and it's so hard to see people through it. Like, I wish there was an option to just turn the tint off. And then we enter another raid fight. So this is kind of offset right now, so we're almost coming to a merge at this point. I'm pulling way too hard in the hope that I'd get shots in, but then a MiG-15 hits me. And I do make it back. There is a short that will be going up in a few days where you'll see the landing. Since a MiG-15 hit me, that's a great opportunity to transition into fighting a MiG-15 properly. So he just merged with me. You can see him back there. They're really easy to deal with. If you're slow and you turn with them, then expect to die. But if you're aware that they're there and you just stay fast, their top speed is like 0.8 Mach, if that. So all you do is go at least that fast or faster and climb in full burner. As you see him lose enough energy to start falling back down again, you turn around. When you get tone, you uncage your Sidewinder, you fire it off, and then you laugh. Because there's really nothing at all they can do, and anyone that flies the MiG-15 in this kind of environment is basically just a masochist. Although it is very rewarding if you manage to turn a fight around and kill something more technologically superior. That's it for today, folks. So if you want to see more videos like this, then be sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like if you liked it. Consider becoming a member to help support the channel for perks. You could buy a model through Air Models to help support the channel financially, or you can hit that thanks icon. But hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Thanks again. Cheers.